All right, guys, we are live.
Oh my god, every time.
Well, yeah, I'll let you know if I ever come up with a better
One day you'll be
opening.
dead. You won't be able to say it. So I guess I'll just say, hey, everybody. Kai's dead. Welcome to the Theory of Living.
No, you're going to carry that, okay? You're going to say that after I die. You're going to
It's
start
with-
every podcast.
Hard news today.
We are live.
We're live. I mean, I'm alive because Kai's dead. He died. Because I murdered him with his stupid intros. Well, welcome back to the show. Glad to have you here. Thank you, all 2 listeners,
Mm-hmm.
Kai and Lafayette. Thank you guys for listening to us. We've obviously lost our minds because we keep doing this.
Right.
So, but exciting because today is the first day of our promotion.
Yes.
And
The first day of the first promotion.
Yeah. First promotion. We're giving away our bags of coffee for those that sign up at tier 2. So maybe you're one of those people that just wants to help out, buy a bag of coffee essentially for cheaper than what we sell it at retail.
Yeah.
And you can access all our content free, full videos, full audio, and give us some feedback. Maybe you like what you hear. Maybe you have some things you want discussed, or maybe you just want to shit on us relentlessly. We're open to all of it. Look, we're not haters,
Yeah.
only when we want to be, but we're open to any commentary, criticism, questions, or anything like that. And we just hope that you can enjoy the coffee because, again, it's something we're essentially giving. We're not making money at all on it.
Right.
We just thought this would be cool way to get people to check out the content
Yeah.
and also enjoy some of our coffee. And this is the first of many production batches to come, and we're going to we'll talk about that later, but we have a way different I guess strategy in mind. Strategy is not the right word.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be. I mean, this batch alone is a standalone batch that won't be really related to the following products.
Correct.
Yes, but this was to basically just commemorate our podcast, the celebration, all that. So that's why we have a limited, number of bags of these coffees. So that's why we limit the newcomers to 300 instead of open number.
We only have so much production. So I guess with that out of the way, let's talk about what the Theory of Living is all about.
Yeah.
For those that are maybe new to the show, don't know Kai and myself.
Mm-hmm.
Just do a little deep dive.
We already kind of did this. I think episode
Episode
7, 8 was it 8? So and then we titled it as a theory of us. Basically, we talked about us. Where we come from. Why we quit our jobs and things like that. But
how we arrived to this situation.
yes,
A lot's changed in that time, though.
mm-hmm.
We've been doing this it's coming up on a year now,
Yeah,
and
Almost.
we've lived in Thailand for a portion of it. We've done a lot of traveling. We've podcasted out of vehicles all over the state,
yeah,
different countries. We've done
sure.
everything to make it work. So
uh,
I think now we can kind of revisit and rehash what
Yeah.
we've gotten experience-wise and the direction of the podcast going forward.
yeah. I think exactly that's what we're talking about. We'd like to talk about today is that what this podcast is about. I mean, what are we really focusing on, right? Rather than just purely about us, which was about what it was about the episode 8. But today we'd like to more talk about our podcast and things that we'd like to focus on, things of that nature, right?
So let's just start with the title, The Theory of Living.
Yeah,
For anybody to arrive at a theory, it's essential you live. And the largest part of living is accumulating experiences, getting knowledge.
yeah,
We feel that so many times in life that we have this conceptual understanding of things that is so far from the experiential understanding. And so with that in mind, we're probably robbing ourselves of a large faction of reality or a part of reality unless we go and get that experience and then find out where the concept and reality meet and what comes of the two. So a huge part is encouraging everybody to go live their lives and discover their personal truths and revelations, because it's going to be different for you, just like it's different for us.
Yeah.
This just happens to be the byproduct of our path
Yeah.
and the journey we're on. So this podcast isn't necessarily even directed to a specific group of people. This is directed to humans in general.
Yeah.
And what we would like to offer to those people is just the information on how we arrive to the path. And that's why we usually don't give very specific advice, or we don't offer anything that's, I guess, generic, or we try not to. Or
Right.
we try to use the, asterisk, keep this in mind. This is applicable for our experience and what we've had. Because for you guys out there, maybe you're having a very different life.
Right.
Maybe you're having a very different experience. But there are a lot of common concepts that all these paths share. Overcoming difficulties, discovering and creating identity, relearning, unlearning. All these things are things. All these things are things, of course. All these are processes that we have to undergo in order to actually arrive to our own personal truth and revelation, which then in turn leads to destiny, your path, and it really changes your values, your morals, your ethics, and the way you view the world in a very splendid and spectacular way, where just, dude, our lives are so easy to navigate. Don't get me wrong, there's always hang-ups, blah, 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 but it's so clear about where we're going, what we want to do, and our openness to change on the fly.
Yeah.
And just take it a day at a time.
Yeah.
And that doesn't rob us of planning, goal setting, or anything else. It removes our ego so that we can actually lean into these things we want to do and adjust accordingly. And the amount of freedom that we've received in this, and we continue to receive by taking further steps upon this path, is, it's fucking work, but it's entirely freeing. And this type of freedom's paid for sweat, tear, blood, financially, blah, blah, blah. You pay for it with your whole life. And that's why it's so valuable, though. And it feels right.
Yeah, 100%. And, just like to add a couple of things to Gray's summary that you gave, is that we're not, it's not that we don't have any opinions about certain things. We do. If you watch our previous episodes on religion and philosophy and certain philosophers, we do have opinions, right?
Yeah.
And we're not saying that we're not going to give you any of our opinions. We will. That's why we got a lot of sometimes backlash, right? But I think what we like to focus on is more universal things, right? How we're born into these imposed, embedded ideas, and therefore we need to unlearn those things, why experiences are important for that reason. All those universal things are the things that we value more than specific topics or slanted opinions. That's what we're trying to say, right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to put it in different words, because a lot of times we were asked what our podcast is about, right? We talk about everything. I mean, it's not just that we only talk about philosophy. We only talk about anthropology. It's literally everything. A wide range of any topics that are relevant. We think relevant in life. Sometimes it could be casual, dating or whatever. But anyway, all those things we still discuss with this emphasis on why experiences are important. Why experiential knowledge is important, understanding.
Preach it, brother. Preach it. Preach a good word.
I mean, that was our focus from the very beginning, don't get me wrong, but we kind of failed to do so, making that clear emphasis every episode. That's why we wanted to take this occasion as an opportunity to express our core knowledge and core values of this podcast, that we're not just talking about catchphrases. I mean, we can do that. I mean, they're so grabby, but at the same time, those are not. We actually talked about this.
We did
In one of our episodes, that those catchphrases are almost like irresponsible.
Yeah, the platitudes that there's truth that's only coming through the experience, and that person can then say that platitude, which is truth for them,
Yeah.
but it misses everything that led up to those words and the way they
Right.
form. So yeah, work hard. Yes, for some people, that is a very specific type of hard work that led to success. But if I'm telling you, the listener who's going through whatever you're going through, work hard does you no good. It's totally non-personal, non-specific, non-relatable. Quite frankly, it can just be, like you're saying, fucking insulting.
Yeah.
Just go work harder, man. How convenient.
Yeah, I mean, today's the last day, whatever. Things of that. Very radical statements. You know, the more the radical, usually the more grabby, right? Because people tend to get attracted to those radical statements.
Hell yeah, who doesn't want a binary world where one singular statement will fix my life?
Right.
That's not reality.
I'm not saying. I mean, some of the catchphrases are pretty good. You know, condensed in very unique ways, but also most of them, in my opinion, just because in the process of condensing a certain truth, usually you lose insights. You usually lose the important aspects of that truth. Those are lost usually when you try to condense that truth into a sentence, right?
I mean, you can be looking at it as a math problem. If you lose the entire equation and you only show the solution's meaningless without the equation and the variables and all the other, sums of the math problem.
Right.
Or even in troubleshooting. If I only give you the problem and not the context, there's really no truth. They're just words. They're meaningless. Truth can only exist in a contextual world, in a relative terms, in relative fashions.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be pushback, people out there that believe in absolute truths. And again, I'm not trying to shit on your absolute truths if you have them, but I would say that almost any belief, idea, or truth you have is usually built in some type of context. So we're referring to context is super important.
Yeah. And then also the truth could be very relative, right? And also there's, more difficult problems of unknowns, unable to be proved, things of that nature. So when we talk about our opinions, we're not apologetic, but we'll let you know this is an opinion, right?
Yeah, we'll do our best to.
Right.
And I get excited about some opinions I hold, and I can
Hell
get a little upset, but
right.
And I think the other thing, so you're sitting here on the couch, we don't have the most, I guess, commercially appealing.
Right.
But it's not because we can't do that. We've talked about this. This podcast and our discussions are conversational. These are the conversations you have in your car with your friends over drinks, blah, blah, blah. When you're laying in bed at night. I don't think either of us are trying to build this up into this very well-produced show where we have a script, everything's planned to the T. We know exactly the message we're giving you, because you and I both know reality looks fucking nothing like that.
Yeah.
People misspeak, they stutter, they use filler word, yes, we're going to try to work some of those kinks out for sure, just to be more effectively communicating with you and with each other. But again, we're just a couple dudes being bros, a couple bros being dudes, sharing our thoughts. And we have the background of quitting our engineering jobs and pursuing this because we think it's that important.
Yeah.
Again, like, you may not see the value, like, dude, you left a 6-figure job to go do your rinky-dink podcast on a couch. But here, I'm trying to explain it to you. I'm trying to explain it to you. Here's why. We see real value in this. And there's something out there for you you're going to see real value in, that your fucking job or whatever it is will come second. Yeah. And you'll be willing to make choices to go after that one thing. And that's what's exciting to tell you about really the theory of living is there are things like that out there for you. It's not bullshit. It took us 30 years to arrive at, 40 years to arrive at, but we always knew it was there, and continually searching. We're just hoping to maybe help identify some of the tools that can be useful on this path, to identifying your path, and then just discuss them open-endedly.
Yeah.
I think it's our job to ask why we believe things or how we've arrived at beliefs.
Yeah.
And really wrestle with these concepts and kind of modernize philosophy. And again, a lot of things we say, yes, we're pulling from works we've read, experiences we've had, and we're not trying to plagiarize or do anything like that or misrepresent our ideas or conflate our ideas with somebody else's.
Yeah.
But this is the byproduct of being human. We're bound to the history we have, the experiences we've had. And so again, we're just trying to put it into a condensable format and share it with you.
Yeah.
And we're open to it, man. We're open to you, and we want to hear your thoughts, your feedback.
Yeah.
Because there's such a better life out there that most people aren't living because they're totally unaware that it's real or unaware of how to arrive to this place where they can even begin the hike on the path.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why this podcast doesn't have a script. Sometimes that's why we may appear to be ineffective in communication or not conveying our ideas in the best way, just because we don't have the script. Doesn't mean that we talk about things that we have no idea of. It's just that, like you said, it's just natural human aspects, right? You make mistakes. Sometimes you don't talk like one of those great speech orators like Obama or
Hitler,
whatever. We're not like.
Wait, did we just say Hitler was great?
I actually don't know that. But anyway, we don't have scripts. We just basically record our podcast anywhere we are in. That's why we don't have a studio. We don't like to have a studio yet, at least, because we like to we value experiences, and for that reason, we like to travel, go to new places, experience new things. That's why sometimes we're recording our podcast in the car, outside in the van, whatever, right? So that's why we don't have our proper studio. We just have bare minimum gears, camera, tripod, 2 mics. We just got extra mic just in case we have the interview. We've done interview twice so far.
Yeah, we've done
Josh and
interviews,
Pong, the city monk in Thailand. Check it out if you're curious.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But it's gonna be this format. We may improve or adjust according to, I guess, our fans' needs, or if we feel the need to adjust or change for better communication or better format, whatever. But more or less, this is going to be the case, right?
Yeah. I think we're also trying to, maybe not so much intentionally, but want to attack the concept that a podcast has to look or sound a certain way to provide useful information.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, a lot of these polished podcasts where they've got their studio, they're all talking about the same dumb shit that everybody else is talking about. They're just fucking spouting nonsense and doing it in a commercially viable way. I'm not trying to be a hater. Everybody's out there crushing it in some way, trying to get it ahead, but you have to honor yourself and be uniquely you. You just have to be yourself. Like, find your own art and then try to work it. And our art is growing and changing. And again, this is nobody in mind when I say that, but we know for us that is not the right way. That's not the path. So we can't sell out.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that actually. So today is the first day of our promotion on Patreon.com. So we are a Patreon creator. We've been releasing short versions, free versions, basically 1/4 of our usual conversation on YouTube and Spotify and all the platforms. But the reason we are on Patreon is that we don't want to be the sellouts. We don't want to have sponsors. We don't want to be swayed by some influences. So basically, no ads, nothing. Then how do we do this? We don't have jobs, right? So we need to have some amount of income to continue this path. And we have a love for this podcast. We love to continue this as long as we can. That's why we're on Patreon, right?
And we're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
We're getting jobs, guys. We're applying for jobs at this point. So even if we never make money, this is something we will continually do.
Right.
Because we've gotten great feedback. It adds value to people's lives. And I mean, what more could you want than to add value?
Yeah.
And we're not trying to sell you shit. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, I'm not trying to sell you shit. I'm not trying to sell you bullshit you don't need. I understand that's messed up.
Yeah.
And I get it. A lot of people really would just want to do podcasting or whatever their line of work is, and they're willing to kind of maybe, for them, maybe it's not a compromise. They're willing to sell you something that you potentially may not need in order to continue their line of work and their job. Yeah. And you might be thinking, well, you're asking me for money for Patreon. Look, I'm only asking you to do it if you find value in it, or if you think we can have conversations that can lead to value.
Yeah.
If you see some like benefit in it, I'm not asking you to get something that's only going to add more shit to the world.
Right.
You know? Consumerism, capitalism. We get a whole big argument about that. Fucking anarchy, baby. But that's not where this episode's going, because you freebies are out of here. I'm so rude to the. I'm actually. I hope you know I'm joking with you guys, but seriously, you gotta go, man. So, free version's done.
Yeah.
Subscribe to Patreon, tier 2. Get your free $20 bag of coffee. It's 12 ounces. Smells great. Tastes great. It's whole beans, so you gotta grind it. And dude, check out the other content. Maybe you like it. Maybe you don't. So you just subscribe for 1 month, get your coffee, unsubscribe, see ya, leave some hate mail. We love it. We'll respond to you and keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, flip side, you're going to love it. You're going to want to comment. You're going to say things. And then we'll start talking about these things. And then we're all going to hang out and we're going to have a good time. Because that's what we do. We hang out with people. Have good times, man. Get out there, experience life.
Yeah. Check out more information on our Patreon page. At patreon.com/the theory of living. Yep.
Perfect. See you, freebies.
Guys. Thank you. Bye.
Back. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? We've been listening to a lot of rap lately, but that's besides the point.
Well, we can say why to our patrons, right?
Because we love it. It sounds so good.
So we actually are planning to... Well, it kind of started already, but we're planning to write a screenplay, and it's set in the 90s.
Set in the 90s, yeah.
That's why we've been listening to 90s hip hop.
Yeah. Plus, it's just we also got turned on to that one Netflix TV show, The Revolution.
Hip Hop Revolution.
Hip Hop Revolution. It's cool just seeing people out there seriously grinding, just chasing their passions. Because again, like we talk about experience, once you get that bone, that thing you want, you're just going to gnaw and chew on it. Yeah. Like, it's the only thing that will give you satisfaction, getting after it. And I think, again, every human being has that potential in their life to find that passion.
Right.
And yeah, it may not be anything grandiose by normal standards, but if it's grand for you and meaningful to you, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Stop trying to be somebody else and fit into a life that you're not meant to fit in.
Yeah,
you know?
That's true.
Like, again, this is one of those things. You're born into this world. People put all this shit on you unintentionally with the best intents in mind.
Especially parents, right?
Yeah, like, we don't know any better. We just take it as fact and truth. And I commented on somebody's post earlier today. They were talking about finding the wonder again as an adult. You know, because as a kid, it's very easy to find that wonder. It's new, it's exciting, like so much joy in it.
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, we find that wonder as a kid, and we become concrete in it. And we think this is the absolute thing. And then we compare everything against those absolutes. And that's where we either find our joy, our anger, our bitterness, our sadness, blah, blah, blah. It all comes from this place of relation to that initial concept that's embedded upon us.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to break free from, especially as an adult, because you feel like you've lost that kid-like spirit you had. The good news is, though, you're still that kid.
Yeah.
It's still there. You just have to be willing to engage with it and soften those lines, soften your gaze. You know, stop being so absolute. Kind of like, you know, what Bruce Lee was saying. Be like water, my friend. Fucking not only in martial arts, you can apply that philosophy or that logic to your conceptual understanding of the world.
That is very
the
true.
math, the science, ethics, virtues, all these other things that constitute reality, you can be fluid in. And the more fluidity you have, you're going to find that's actually where the childlike spirit is.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. You don't know which is right or wrong. You're not saying one's better than the other. You're just with it.
Yeah, I mean, kids tend to have this very unbiased approach. I think that's in my opinion, equivalent to humility, right? When you encounter something for the first time, I think it is important to stay unbiased, right? Take it as it is, and then evaluate as it is. Instead of, I mean, obviously, it's almost impossible to not to have your own perspective in a certain way, but also it is possible for you to stay humble and unbiased. Try to, at least, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. Maybe it's not maybe it's not possible to do so perfectly, right? Because we are of our own perspective, right? So we're already biased in a way, but at least we can try to approach it unbiased, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why kids are so good at learning things, because they're unbiased.
Yeah.
Right?
There's no expectation of outcome.
Yes.
They just go in the moment.
Yeah, but also that's what makes them vulnerable to these imposed ideas, right? Because just parents tell them, hey, do this. Why? Just do it, right? Then, some of them become their habits. Some of them become their values, very dangerous thing. I think I'm not here to tell, parents how to parent their kids, but also it's important to, in my opinion, at least if you want to give them certain values, explain them why.
Well, that's going to be hard because they don't even know why they have those values.
Give them an opportunity to logically process it, right?
Yeah.
I think that in the future, those kids will likely unlearn those things if they're not theirs, right? But if it doesn't come with any explanation, then they don't have any opportunity to even think otherwise.
Yeah.
It's just theirs.
Yeah. Well, you'll understand someday. I hate that shit.
I always hated when I was a kid.
Yes. Okay, well, why can't you just explain it now to me so I can actually understand?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there's absolutely some things where, you just need experience and time to understand. But you should still do the person justice and explain it as best you can through your own personal experience.
Yeah.
I think most people, though, they actually never arrive to that truth. So when they're confronted with, well, why?
Yeah.
Don't ask me why, God damn it, Billy. I'll tell you why. It's because I said so. And these motherfuckers keep doing it when they're fucking, like, grown men, grown children. And then their kids do it. And it's like, well, because I told you so. Like, that's not a good reason.
Right.
Like, even if that is the reason for that specific circumstance, like, sometimes, yes, sometimes somebody's in power over you, or reality forces you in a situation where I told you so is the only conclusion you're going to get.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've dealt with kids and, many, many times, okay? There are situations where you have to do that. I mean, otherwise there's no other, just effective way to, suppress it. Yes, do it. But later you can talk about it, right? I mean, kids are human too. I mean, they require that conversation. The more the conversation, actually, the better. For the relationship between, parents and kids, right? So, I mean, it doesn't have to be like a black and white, okay, you never do it or you should do it. You can use it more flexibly, right? I mean, if it is advantageous for the situation, just do your thing. But then give them explanation later afterwards, at least,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to do something, just do it right. I guess that really what it boils down to. Like, why are you just I don't know, borrowing today what you're gonna have to pay back tomorrow? Because the reality of the matter is that if you don't give them something, they come up with something themselves, and this happens to adults as well. We talk about this a lot in effective communication. We exchange some words, maybe they're not thorough enough, or we just don't have the strong enough relationship to adequately convey what we mean. So people will walk away having an idea that they've made of their own accord, about what that conversation was.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand you. And this is why one of the most important aspects of reality for me is human relationship.
Yeah.
Like, dude, sorry, most of you people out there listening to me, you can understand me roughly, but unless you know me, like interpersonally know me,
Yeah.
there's so much loss. There's just
Yeah.
so much loss. But again, over time, with as many episodes we've made, you'll start to be able to get a general idea of who I am, who we are, what this is about.
Better, at least.
Yeah, and that's better. But the best one you can ever have is going to be that face-to-face interpersonal relationship where you get body language, tone of voice, subtleties, all the things that are just lost in this format, unfortunately. Whether you're browsing from your phone, your computer, or you're hearing us through your earphones, that's, I don't want to say it's a smaller, less valuable version of reality, but
it's definitely different.
It's different, yeah. And you have to know that going in with everybody you deal with. Like you're getting that person in that situation, in that context.
Yeah.
So try not to over extrapolate things.
Yeah.
Like just take it as it is. Again.
Yeah, that's important for sure.
Like we were saying, kids, take the moment as it is. Because that's when you're actually opening yourself up to learning and real relationship. Meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
Meet concepts where they're at. Meet your life, these circumstances, where it's at and where you're at. And you'll find a lot of freedom because then it's like, wow, actually, instead of having a pre-decided reaction about how I'm going to feel, I choose it after I hear something. So, yeah, maybe somebody says something politically that is just so disgusting and abhorrent to you. Rather than already arriving at that decision, try to understand where that person's coming from.
Yeah.
Because then you might get into a rare situation where not only you can understand them better, but then maybe you can have an impact. Or maybe even this crazy thought, maybe your views will get shifted.
Yeah.
Maybe you're seeing things a little whack. That's the real risk you run by not listening to people and arriving to conclusions prematurely. You might be risking your identity.
Yeah, true.
Just because you're so reactive.
Yeah.
Scary.
I mean, also it could be very unproductive, right? I mean, there are things that are worth engaging and that are not. And also, when you were saying it, and it reminded me of this quote from Hemingway. Him saying that as a writer, you shouldn't judge, you should understand, right? So that's kind of a good approach when you deal with or encounter and interact with a person who has different opinions from you. Like you said, maybe it's better to understand them first. Maybe then you can debate.
Yeah.
You can argue, right? But without understanding and trying to argue is almost equivalent to blindly arguing them, because you don't even know where it's coming from,
Yeah. And I think a lot of things can, at the core, you might realize you guys maintain the same kind of truth in an absolute sense, but the expression is where the difference lies.
Yeah.
So the expression of this truth is different. Just like our path, it's different,
Yeah.
Professional climbers are different than professional golfers, but they do have a lot in common. You'd probably be surprised by that. Or even, engineers and people that are professional athletes. There's a lot that is in common with these people.
Yeah.
Again, if you're just looking at the end goal, end result, there seems to be a lot of differences. But if you get down to kind of these core values and things we talk about all the time, the essence, you'll see there's a lot more similarity.
Yeah, I think that's because we as human beings share a lot of core, like universal traits that we need repetition to learn something, right? That's pretty much true for anybody who wishes to learn something and getting good at it. And then we get tired, we lose motivation. That's why we need to be disciplined for a while, and all those things are universal to us. That's why those people who are master at, certain things, they share common characteristics like disciplined, motivated, strong will.
Yeah.
things of that nature.
Yeah.
Right.
And then when you meet people and you actually like, really get to know them before you judge their ideas, like actually get to know them, you'll see that most people have arrived to their thought process and beliefs through a very understandable route.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, yeah, of course they would believe that. Look at the life they've had, man. Look at the people they're surrounded with. Look at the media or the things they consume, the books they've read, you know, even the food they eat, the sleep they get. All these things start to add up into, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You know? And when you can understand something, I think in that way, you feel safer with it. You don't feel so offended by it or, you know, like you need to react to it. Like it's something that can hurt you, you know?
Yeah.
And then you can also communicate more effectively with them.
Yeah.
Better. You know,
Yeah,
I
true.
think we can all get on the same page with most things in life. When
Yeah.
we're in person, face to face.
100%. Yeah, that is 100% true because we actually saw this guy made just really offensive comment on my one of our previews, and we're talking about it like he would never probably say that like to my face if he's right here,
No
right?
way!
Like, no, of course not. I mean, this is not something that, you know, we newly discovered, but I just thought that that's so funny. Like, nobody would say stuff like that, you know, to anybody's face in person, right?
Well, how are you behaving differently because you're on your phone or a computer screen or something?
I mean, all I really see is an anger.
Yeah.
Like, why are you so angry at me, you know? You didn't. Okay, and then another funny thing is that there was a preview. Like a fucking 40-second preview. You didn't even see entire discussion, you know? And now you're entitled to fucking, you know, criticize my points even without listening to entire portion of my discussion.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you?
I think the funny thing is the people that tend to be reactionary like that and so absolute in their language are the same people that are like, yeah, man, these platforms suck. There's only hate and rage on them now. Right. They're the same motherfuckers that are just continuing to spew it out everywhere.
Right.
Yeah, guess what? No reason these platforms are completely devoid of like any aspect of humanity.
Yeah.
It's because people like you use them. Like, dude, you're the problem with the platform. No wonder we can't have world peace.
You're a big part of the problem.
Yeah, man. Like,
you're a
take
constituent
a
of
step
the problem, you know.
Yeah, you're just reactionary. You're just looking for some fault.
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh, hey, I'm trying to understand you because this was my experience.
Right.
Why? If you did that, then I can learn.
Right.
I can learn
and we can actually discuss.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong, but your reaction just prematurely shuts down entire discussion or potential, you know, valuable discussion.
Yeah, and it's a bummer because we both want to learn more and know more about reality.
I'm kind of curious why you think that way, but I mean, we can't really continue our discussion, can we? Because you're fucking hating on me.
Yeah, like no room for no humility in his response.
Yeah,
it was basically he was God and he told you you're fucking wrong, you ant.
I think, you know, potentially this is why, you know, we value Patreon platform because, well, currently we just don't have opportunity to really interact with our patrons. Simply just because there is no request yet. But Patreon potentially is a great platform for us to really connect to our patrons.
Yeah,
you know?
Build a community.
Like an actual conversation, right? Yeah. We can do that. I mean, we actually put it up there, but nobody's at that tier yet. You know, AMAs and all that jazz. But by the way, patrons, we've updated our tier descriptions. So previously there were 5, and now they're down to 3 tiers, and we changed the names as well to, remember what it was?
Inkling would be tier 1, $5 pledge. So still get the same content, the full episode, audio wise.
No change there.
Yep. And the second one is idea, so you could try see a theme going on, and then the third and final one is theory. Right, because the theory of living. So theory, if you're a conspiracy theorist and you want to support us, we'll take your money. Totally. No.
But yeah, I mean, I think that Patreon could be a great platform because we can have actual discussion. with our patrons.
Yeah, we want this to grow. We're not islands over here. You and I are not like an island that refuses any more knowledge or interaction, and we just spew truth to the world. That's bullshit. That's not what we are.
Yeah, we really like it to be two-way conversation, actual conversation. That's what we're getting at, not like just unilateral. I mean, podcast is a great platform for people like us, because we don't have to. We'll listen to other influences. We don't have to be swayed by them, right? We can have our pure conversation, the things that we actually care about, right?
And value. And that's a big part of why we want to bring more people on for interviews, and we'll be doing that when we move to Colorado. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, because there's so many interesting people in the world with different views, unique lifestyles. And I think the more we are able to get those messages out there and show people like, you can find fulfillment through many different ways.
Yeah.
It's not a 9 to 5 necessarily. It's not necessarily 2.5 kids, the white picket fence. Like, that might be for you.
Yeah.
It totally might be. But unless you've done the work and know for sure that's for you, you're risking everything. You're risking everything. So, and again, even if you're in that situation, it wasn't for you, and you've now figured that out, there's definitely things you can do to reclaim your life.
Yeah.
And have joy and build those relationships deeper and more meaningful, express yourself, blah, blah, blah. And there's people that are doing it. Those people just don't typically get any media attention or any type of platform to show that it's possible, because shockingly, most fulfilled people don't need to go and blast their fulfillment on the internet or anywhere else.
Yeah.
They just live their lives because life is good.
Yeah.
Like, we're just fortunate life is good for us, and this is one byproduct of a good life for us, is that we actually can get the message out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're going to go find those people. We know them, interview them, share the messages, and just show there's so many different paths you can take to really get on to this like personal truth, revelation, destiny, fulfillment, whatever you want to call it. And I'm fucking stoked about that.
Yeah 100%. I don't know if have we actually announced it. I mean, it's not announcement, but have we actually say that we're moving to Colorado?
No, probably not.
Yeah, well, guys, we're moving to Colorado actually next month. No, after next month.
My birthday. What up? Back home, dog.
In October, but this is gonna be actually potentially could be last episode in Arizona, right?
Whoa,
I'm thinking
right,
about it.
Actually,
yeah, it could be the last episode that we film in Arizona. I'm not sad about it.
What's this feeling I'm having? It's not bittersweet. It's just sweet. Yeah, that's
exactly.
what it is. Yeah, fuck yeah.
We cannot wait to get out of here.
Yeah. Specifically the Phoenix greater metro area. Specifically Santan Valley. Fuck Santan Valley.
Yeah.
And whoever's doing all the construction here, whoever is the city planner or responsible for fucking
doing a notably horrible job. So yeah, whoever you are.
Yeah. And why do you
I'm calling you out.
Well, yeah. Why
you're not my patron, so
the thermostat up so high? It's hot enough. Turn it down. Come on, dude. You're the mayor. Or ma'am. Sorry.
Did you just assume that mayor is a man?
I just assumed the mayor is a
fatal mistake you just made.
Thinking creature or entity.
This
thing obviously does not
gave out your identity. Yeah.
I'm so bigoted. I'm going to go lash myself. But and we love people that are living their lives, whatever you're doing. She, it, her, whatever, man. You fucking live your life unapologetically.
Yeah.
And just try to be yourself. That's fucking awesome.
We never actually talked about it, like specifically, mention whether or not we're liberal and what those kind of labels, right? Because we thought that it's just unnecessary. Our discussion should reflect who we are, really.
Yeah.
And our patrons probably know by now who we are, really, politically, and we're anarchists. I'm just kidding.
Burn it down, baby!
Politically, culturally, in many ways, you probably better understand us by now. Though it's different from who actually who we are actually. It's never going to be the same, but you have better understanding than anybody else.
Yeah. It's just so strange that we want to label anything, because there's no label that's adequate to describe every situation or moment in time, especially with the variables of just day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I'm in a poor mood, so maybe I'm going to be a little bit of an asshole and lean a certain way if we're going to categorize it that way. But again, I think when we get into like this extreme level of categorization, we kind of divide ourselves into duality or an infinite amount of identities, and that's just not sustainable for a human being. We're all these things simultaneously while being a singular thing, you know? So you got to be, again, it's the fluidity, man. I think we have to exist in this fluidity.
Absolutely. I think, this applies to so many things, so I'm going to be careful here, but fluidity is absolutely necessary for diversity, the meaningful diversities. I think it is important to have categories. Don't get me wrong. I mean, categories just for the purpose of education, understanding, but that doesn't mean that it should stay that way forever, right? We make mistakes when we try to categorize everything in under any circumstances. Then we kind of, risk understanding the fundamental values of whatever subject we're looking at.
Yeah.
We make the mistakes all the fucking time, or you're a man or you're a woman right away, right? Why do we care? I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing to do in all circumstances, but for certain things, you don't need to know the gender.
Well, most people are looking for those categorizations so they can just put whatever filter on you. They've decided, their prejudgment. Hey, wait, are you liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat? Just so I can know how I feel about you immediately. So when you skirt that, people get fucking upset. Well, what are you, man? You don't believe in anything, man? Like, no, dude. I believe in important and valuable things, and I apply them moment to moment. Like, how dare you try to box a human being? How dare you try to box something so infinitely complex and make it this concrete thing? Like, dude, you're not only robbing me. You're not robbing me of anything. You're only robbing yourself of so much because you've just put a limiter. It's like we were watching Infinity War, and I was saying that in the preview of the Hulk is in the kind of Iron Man suit. And it was like I don't remember
that.
We'll have to pull it up.
Yeah, we'll have to pull it up, right?
But you were saying like you're making him. Why would you put him in a suit? He's the Hulk. But that's the thing. Even the Hulk, Bruce, he doesn't even realize his potential or his power. So you put me in this suit that is only capable of so much, and we think it's a benefit. We do this all the time with our lives and things and beliefs we hold. This belief will serve,
right?
Yeah. This thing that basically can't be killed or destroyed. Like, we're gonna throw you in the suit.
Like Hulk has infinite amount of potential power, and then you're putting him in a man-made artifact. Like, what is going on here?
But we do it all the time. Look at the mile pace. The first time that was actually broke. How many people broke it after that? Because we put this limiter in here saying. And we do that in our life. Like, I can't be a good podcaster. I can't live the life I want. Like, I don't have those skills. I don't have those sets. People don't talk about the shit we talk about. That's not going to be successful commercial.
Right.
Okay. Wait, what? You've boxed yourself. You've entirely boxed and limited yourself. Or what if we said like, oh, dude, we can't make money unless we run ads. We have to have a product, man. We can't do it. It's not financially viable. It doesn't make sense. You can't live your life like this. Fuck you. I live my life how I want to live it. Fuck you.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's also a byproduct of this modern society that we tend to box ourselves just because that is so common. We actually grew up learning that we need to categorize things. We need to box things. We need to have limitations, for the stability of society, for the purpose of understanding this. We actually grew up learning those things valuable.
I
You
know.
know, but
I know. I held on
looking
so
back,
long.
I mean, of course, there are so many universal truths, but or relevant truths or relevant characteristics of humanity. I think one of them is that, like you said, flexibility. Let's have some flexibility. Let's not worry about whether or not you're liberal, whether or not I'm conservative. Who fucking cares, right? Let's just worry about what we're going to talk about today. How we're going to interact together. How you're going to understand each other.
Yeah.
That's more important than fucking you're liberal, I'm conservative. Therefore, okay, we're done talking here. You're already. It's done.
Yeah.
As soon as you categorize things, it's done.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying categorization is completely trash in all occasions, but I think it's important, at least the flexibility is very important in a lot of things for greater things, like diversities. What else? I can't think of anything else right at the moment, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say where this is stemmed from. I mean, war is profitable, right? Even the war of ideas is profitable.
Yeah.
Conflict, confrontation. That's where a lot of people sell things, man. They sell a lot of things in there. And unfortunately, the stuff you're talking about is the kind of stuff that people get assassinated for.
Yeah.
People that talk about like true peace and unity.
Don't say that.
Dude, they kill people like that.
Yeah,
they really do.
sure.
Or they try to silence their platform. Or, maybe some of these people realize like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to engage with the system because engaging with the system's a waste. I understand people taking that position. I understand it strongly.
Yeah.
Because anytime you do engage with the system on their terms, you're also fucking succumbing to the system to some degree.
Yeah. For sure.
So I think we're actively working trying to build a new system or, add on to pre-existing systems that are better than what we have through culture. The biggest impact we can have is obviously the interpersonal relationship, the singular, like changing somebody's life.
Yeah.
That's the most important. But maybe we can also affect culture to some degree that, man, look, there's a group of us that have crazy different thoughts and ideas and opinions about things. Yet we all love each other. We all like crush life. We get on together and make the world a better place. Something that we're told is impossible, but it's bullshit. I personally know it's bullshit from my own experience. I have friends with beliefs that I would never hold in a million years.
Yeah.
That I think are fucking outrageous, honestly. But I love those people, and they love me.
Yeah.
And somehow, in reality, like, it all comes out fine. You know what I mean? So I think we just got to try to get away from these people that are capitalizing on us maintaining certain identities or certain beliefs and really fucking restructure and redefine it.
Yeah.
We're exploited, man. Fucking day after day. I'm not saying that's necessarily intentional. It's for sure intentional by some corporations, entities, people, blah, 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 whatever. But there's also the very non-intentional, just byproduct of us holding ideas and thoughts and trying to put the infinite into a singular thing and calling it ourselves, our ego, essentially. Like, we're always going to be at odds to some degree with these things because people are always going to be born. People are always getting embedded ideas.
Yeah.
We're always falling for bad ideas, and we're unlearning, relearning. This is human life, human growth. But if we became more understanding, like, this is normal process and we're going through it, I think we would respond and react very differently. And I think the world could be more beautiful and, I'm a romantic. So, I might be romanticizing these ideas, but the endeavor is so worthy. I'm totally fine spending my life trying to achieve something that may not be achievable.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, from your perspective, if you've lived your life that way, that trying to achieve something that is not achievable, but dying without achieving it, but to you still, that could be a very valuable thing. Right?
Yes, man. Dude, this is cliche, but life's not about the destination, but the journey. There's a reason people say that.
Because I think even in terms of the effect or impact your type of life it can have is tremendous.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether or not it was achieved. I mean,
Yeah.
the most important thing is how that achievement, I mean, the effort for the achievement um, was made throughout your life, how consistently, how nobly, right? I mean, those
Yeah.
things matter.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
again, the cool thing is, a lot of people say, well, there's no balance in that. I've created what balance is for me.
Yeah.
I get to define it, and it changes with the time periods.
Yeah.
It changes with what's available to me, the situation we're in life.
Yeah.
I have to move that, kind of like we've talked about. The truth is a moving target. Balance as well is
Yeah.
a moving target. All these things are moving targets.
Yeah.
And I get to be the one to choose balance in my life, right? So, yeah, that
Mhm.
balance sometime might be higher than the ideal of achieving, peace, right? Because sometimes you have to compromise some of what you think is important
Mhm.
in order to maintain balance
Yeah.
so that you can actually continue to progress. Because
Mhm.
if you hit a hard stop on a certain moment, or somebody says something to you and you say, you know what, the relationship's done with them, it's over right there.
Yeah.
Again, you've shut down all future possibilities. That is death.
Mhm.
Once you decide you can't adapt, move these targets, truth, balance, whatever they are, that is death.
Mhm.
You are a fixed thing. Nothing is fixed in reality. Absolutely nothing. Conceptually, it only
Or
exists.
shouldn't be, right?
That is the only place it exists conceptually. In reality, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, of course, we're getting into a little bit of philosophical underworkings of,
Yeah.
what constitutes reality and what we can, categorize and separate. But yeah.
Yeah. That's why I think, experience is important, right? I mean, we're going to talk about this on our next episode, but I mean, especially our patrons now recognize our recurring themes, right? We're born into this embedded ideas. Nobody's free from it. But how do we have our own life then? Well, we have to unlearn it. How do we unlearn it? Well, that's going to be active process. It's not going to be inactive, passive process where those things that you've learned and those things, the concepts and ideas of yours, they don't automatically just disappear. You have to reevaluate them.
Yeah.
You have to, in your brain, literally, you have to reconnect, rewire all those concepts that are not yours. And at least you have to recognize them as not yours. And those processes are active processes.
Yeah.
It's not passive processes. And after you learn it, you need to have, like you said, truth is a moving target. And without learning, what kind of a life are you having, right? You have to learn. Meaning that new information, and some of the new information will be your revelations,
Yeah.
will be your personal truth, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. Those core values of you, core values that make who you are.
Yeah.
Those things require experiences.
Yeah.
We grew up reading, fantasizing and, admiring philosophers, great thinkers. Those are not ours. We can understand it conceptually. We can admire them because we understand the gratitude of their ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But then it is never ours to begin with. And only way to even come close to those truth of that level is to experience them.
Yeah.
That's why we emphasize experiences so much.
And the cool thing is, when you're saying learn, for the people out there who might be thinking of learning in this traditional sense that you've learned it, you can recite it via memory, basically memorization of a passage. That's not the type of learning we're talking about. Yeah, that's one facet of learning that's possible.
Yeah.
But dude, there's so much I've learned in my life that there's no way I could condense into an easily digestible paragraph or phrase or a quote or even into a book. Yeah, we could write a book and it's going to convey it better than a singular passage will.
Yeah.
But this type of learning is something that's so difficult to measure and so impactful because just like every meal you've ever had, even though you can't name it, this is very much a part of you. It's affected everything in your life. Everything you've ever eaten, every image you've consumed, every experience you've ever had, even if you're not aware, it has had an impact, right?
Yeah.
So that's the cool thing about this path of learning is the real process of it is taking the time to identify and understand what has happened and trying to pull out something from an infinite amount of inputs we have.
Yeah.
You're trying to pull out certain inputs and say, these inputs are responsible for this, or this is why I've arrived at this. And then also at the same time, you're aware that I'm picking and choosing almost could be at random, these inputs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're instantly kind of like robbed of any traditional value, right? Any absolute value, because there's no real absolute, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a freedom in that, in realizing like this is just the case in the moment for the time being. And don't get me wrong, some of these will hold for years, man. Like some of these values arrive at like working hard, or for us being active and physically engaged and working out and those types of things, exerting our will through a physical means, whether it was weightlifting, martial arts, climbing, whatever it is. Some of these expressions remain consistent for life.
Yeah. And then when we say that, truth is a moving target and then there's no real such thing as absolute value, I mean, we can really dissect it philosophically, but in short, the reason that is true is that every concepts and ideas are subject to the language, subject to time and space, which change all the time, right? And that's why it is logically not untrue to say that, no truths are absolute, right? Because everything's changing, right?
Well, it's like what Epicurus. I mean, back in the fucking day, can't step into the same river twice, right? That was Epicurus.
Yeah. The early philosophers used to argue that whether or not things, continue to change or things continue to stay unchanged.
Yeah.
Right. That was a big part of their debate, because that has to do with closely associated with what is this world made of, right? When you talk about these things, it is important to, give some values to it, that whether or not those are changing or not, right? So anyway, the early philosophers used to debate that. Now we're talking about it, right? In terms of ideas, at least. But.
Well, it's funny because even the way they engaged with it, you can see their society was structured so differently, just based on the common knowledge and the way we categorize things. Of course, the culture is going to be different.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they had, look, I'm not saying this is a good thing. I'm just saying this is one of the things that was there. Pedophilia, intersect, all these different types of like sexualities, even I think with animals. I'm just saying the way we slice up and categorize the world has a very, very real impact on culture in your day to day. And do not discredit the value of categorization and the way we think of things. It's so important. People have done an extremely, I don't want to say impressive. They've done a very, I'd say, I don't even like the word evil. They've done an evil job to try to convince you of this truth that things are the way they are, period, and this is the best way they are.
Yeah, and then that only, usually comes from this place of authority, authority when it comes to political systems and religion. They want you to believe that their values are absolute. Of course, their values shouldn't change, otherwise it cannot be religion, right? If your religious values change, then how can you convince them, for these promises after life? Because they're not absolute, right? But they have to be absolute, otherwise there is no heaven or hell after life, right? Anyway, what I'm getting at is that usually those things have agenda. When they say that those are the absolute values, guys, you gotta buy them, there's usually agenda behind them, right? At least try to recognize that. Maybe that's gonna be your shield. At least having that mindset that at least I need to evaluate this situation to figure out whether or not there's like hidden agenda here. And like even anthropology. Like there's a lot of problem just doing categorization, when we do like state, chiefdom, cities. Who fucking cares? You know, you need to understand how they lived, who they were, you know. But a lot of times you miss the point just to come up with a categorization. Oh, were they states? Like, why does that matter? Why does that matter?
Yeah.
Because, you know, everything that you knew about categorization and its characteristics of those categories can change, right? That's the problem here. If those are absolute, yes, go with the categorization. It's important because those are not changing. But if it were to change, if it has potential for changes, then you shouldn't be too rigid.
Yeah.
Especially when you're, you know, most of your work is guessing, you know?
I mean,
Anyway.
especially if we want to talk about anthropology or even history.
Yeah.
History's never been about the people. It's like basically a dissection of the political systems that existed throughout time, like power structures and narratives. They're not the people's narratives.
Right.
People are so underrepresented. Like,
oh yeah,
we're
that's
so,
why. Yeah, that's
so
why
underrepresented.
That's why we're missing a lot of things. That's why we're missing a lot of things. Yeah.
Yo, you don't fucking write the slave stories down and share it with the world. That's bullshit. They tell you how fucked up it all is.
Yeah, exactly.
They can't let that get out. That don't make sense.
Right. Yeah. Even I mean, we kind of briefly talked about this on our previous episode, not the previous one, but one of the previous ones. That when we watched this Netflix documentary about legalization. What
Cannabis.
Yeah, cannabis. Yeah.
Weed
We had no
people.
clue. I had no clue. I mean, just because we're not stoners, guys. We don't know anything about.
We know now what we are.
But anyway, I was quite ignorant about that subject, and I learned a lot from the documentary. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, things like that, man.
I think when you learn truth, generally speaking, like this is the experience I have with truth, it's relieving, but it's heartbreaking that you believe something for so long. You're so unaware, but now you know, and that's the freedom you get. Like, yeah, there's a real burden and pain knowing, again, it's a moving target, that truth, but you're like fucking deshackled.
Right.
I have to do something about this. I know now I have to do something. Something has to change. Or you willingly go back to the shackles and pretend it didn't exist.
Yeah. We used to use that word a lot, right? Shackles. But anyway, the reason we even talk about these imposed ideas, the importance of experiences, enlightenment, revelations, and all that, so that we can be free. I mean, that's the final goal here, right?
Yeah.
That's the final goal. Final goal.
True freedom.
Complete autonomy. You know, complete freedom.
Can't wait.
That's the goal. Yeah.
Till next time, I guess.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
See ya.